Welcome to the continuing session on ethics. In this session, we are again dealing with the ethical theory of Plato, mainly his theory of cardinal virtues. We have with us Dr. Nasi, Professor and Head, Department of Philosophy, University of Kerala. Once again I welcome ma'am to this session.
Thank you very much.
Ma'am, we have already discussed his theory of a soul, mainly the tripartite division, and we have seen what a just man or how he can perform in an ideal society. So, I think we can move on to the next part of his theory, mainly his ethical theory.
Yes, you are right. We have already done the first part, dealing with the concept of soul, the divisions of soul, and the characteristics of soul. We found that soul consists of three main characteristics: rationality, spirituality, and the appetitive element. Accordingly, Plato has designed the structure of city state or the ideal state, giving the three characteristics of soul to three classes of people, assigning the characteristics to different classes of people. He says that the ruling class is the rational group of people. There is the warrior class assigned with the virtue of spirit, and then there is the working class, the farmers and business group of people. They are assigned with the virtue of appetite. Now, moving on the discussion on virtue, on ethics, Plato comes to say that the rational part is the essence of human soul, or human soul is essentially rational. And this he concludes by from his metaphysics. Actually, he applies his metaphysics here, where he actually makes a distinction between appearance and reality, assigning no value for the appearance. It is only transitory existence, it is only temporary kind of existence, whereas all permanence, all reality is attributed to the reality, namely the absolute, the ideas or the form. Okay. And the same principle he brings here, and he takes it from there and applies it here. What he says is that objects of sense, the material phenomena around us, are mere fleeting shadows okay, of the eternal and never changing ideas. See the distinction between appearance and reality stated here. So, the ideas are eternal, reality never changing, and they simply are copied.
They are feigned and feeble copies.
Yes, imitated by the objects around us, by the temporary objects. So, this is metaphysical principle actually. This principle he brings it to the field of ethics and he applies it here. Now, he continues to say that such objects, since they are transitory, have no absolute worth, no worth and even no absolute value. So, this is the nature of the external objects around us, which is called appearances. Now, reason, he says, reason which alone is conversant with the highest good has absolute worth. So, what we call the reason, so we have mentioned about the reason in different contexts, the characteristic of soul, highest characteristic of soul, then it is attributed to the ruling class of people. So, like that we have seen it. So, this kind of reason is the highest good, has absolute worth, like the reality of the metaphysics, the idea of the metaphysics. So, he compares reason with the absolute of his metaphysical principle. Okay. Hence, the rational part of man is the true part. And man's ideal must be to cultivate reason. So, he sets an ideal for man as an ethical philosopher. He wants to set an ideal for man to follow. So, the ideal man is a rational man. Cultivating the rational part of the soul, developing the rational part of the soul to its fullest extent. That is the duty of a man. That man is the ideal man. The immortal side of his soul. So, he refers about reason as the immortal side of a man's soul. Like reality is the immortal reality, eternal reality. So, all the others are fleeting, changing, like the world of appearance. Even the spirit, virtue of spirit is changing, virtue of the absolute appetite is changing. Okay. So, he says that this is the only part, namely rational part of the soul, which has got immortal reality or immortal nature. The body and the senses are alien to the soul. So, they are not related to, they are not having any value, they are simply alien things. They are not related to the soul at all. Indeed, the body is the prison house of the soul. So, he goes on to explain, because this is a very important point in the ethics of Plato. So, he says that the soul is the most important part because it is rational. So, rationality is the highest characteristic of soul. Now, he goes on to say that what is body? Body is a fleeting experience. It is a temporary phenomena, like the world of appearance of the metaphysics, metaphysical principle of appearance. And compared to the soul, it is not only temporary, it is not only of appearance and character, but what he says, see, the body is the prison house of the soul. Actually, the soul is imprisoned in the body. See, the body acts as a prison where the soul has been put and locked in. Okay. A fetter. So, the soul has been fettered, tied up and locked up inside the body. So, that is the function of body according to Plato. Now, what he says is deliverance from which is the final goal of spirit. So, soul, the duty, the goal of spirit is to get out of it. A deliverance, a liberation, a freedom from this fettered state, from this imprisoned state. Okay? So, the point is the soul which is immortal and eternal, it has nothing to do with the body, but even then it has been imprisoned in the body, it is subjected to the bodily pleasures and pressures. And the duty of the soul is to get out of this imprisonment, to get liberated from this fettered state to this locked in state. So, the ultimate end of life is the release of the soul from the body, and thus the contemplation of the beautiful world of ideas. So, this is supposed to be the goal of human life. The goal of human life is to get liberated out of the fetters and shackles of body and bodily pressures. So many pressures are coming from the body, like passions, emotions, sensations, appetites. So many things are all, these are all negative impacts on the soul. So, the soul has to remove all this, free itself from all this, and what it has to do? It has to get the contemplation of the beautiful world of ideas. So, original about the soul is the world of ideas, but here in this world of appearance it has been imprisoned. So, it has to be liberated so that it can contemplate about the world of ideas. So, that is the ultimate end of a human life, the ultimate goal of a human life. And the rational part is wise and has to exercise forethought on behalf of the entire soul. So, this goal of the human soul is to be accomplished through reason. So, reason is the means, because soul is rational, it can accomplish this. Okay? It is the rational character, the soul, that helps the soul to get liberated from the shackles of the body or shackles of the worldly appearance. Hence, its essential function is to command. That is why it is said that reason has got commanding power. Whom reason rules over the other impulses of the soul, knowing what is advantageous for the whole inner economy and for each member of it. So, since the reason is of commanding status, now it can know, it has the capacity to apprehend what is good for others, what is the best thing for others. It will be comprehending in its own, because it has that commanding power over other aspects of human soul. The function, the spirited part, is to be the subject and ally of reason. So, passing from the characteristic or nature of reason. So, nature of reason is helping the soul to free itself from the shackles of body. Now, for that it can utilize what is called the commanding authority, that commanding power over the other impulses or other virtues. Now, coming to the second one, the function, the spirited part, namely the warrior class of people, that we have seen to be subject and the ally of the reason. So, it is their duty. So, in an ideal society, the warrior class of people have to support, full support to the ruling class for maintaining the welfare of the society. That was their duty. Now, here also spirit is the virtue of the warrior class. Therefore, the duty of the spirit is to give full support, to remain subjected to reason and support it fully. Spirit cannot overpower reason. Spirit has to remain subordinate to reason. It is subordinate and it has to remain like that, but it has to help it in all respects, reason to realize its goal, namely realizing the original nature of soul. Reason takes the counsel. The spirited faculty fights the battles of reason and obeys it, and gives effect to its counsels by its bravery. Therefore, an individual is brave when the spirited part holds fast through pain and pleasure. So, we can say that a brave man is a man where the virtue of spirit is in full swing, is fully active. Then only we can say that a man is a brave man. Then he speaks of another virtue called temperance.
One of the cardinal virtues.
Yes. Temperance or self-control is mastery over certain kinds of pleasures or desires. So, actually we can speak of the next lowest class of people in the ideal society, the farmers, business people, artisans and such kind of people. The virtue of temperance is attributed to them, where what is expected is total control or mastery over pleasures and desires. Okay? So, they have to master their feelings of pleasure, master their feelings of sensation. So, for that the virtue of temperance will be useful. Therefore, the virtue of temperance is attributed to the lower class of people. Now, he says that when these three inward principles are in tune, each doing its proper work, the man is just. Okay? In a single man, the soul has got these three parts. These three virtues are there. These functions are also present. Therefore, in a single man, when these three virtues are doing or fulfilling their assigned part, the part or duty assigned to them, that man is called a just man. Okay? We can define a man as a just man or a man of justice, whom the assigned duties of each part of soul has been done or accomplished fully. He is only called a just man. Now, justice is the supreme virtue, and any soul in which it dwells is incapable of any sort of wrongdoing. So, justice is an overall virtue which looks into whether the assigned virtues are performed in the proper sense or not, whether reason is functioning properly, whether spirit is functioning properly, or whether appetite is functioning properly, and if all these things are virtues are functioning properly, that is called justice. So, justice is an overall virtue covering the other three: reason, spirit and appetite. Okay. So, we come to what is called the ethical ideal in Plato. So, with this idea of reason as the primary characteristic of soul and helping the soul or enabling the soul to realize its original character, namely identification of the world of ideas or entering into the world of ideas. So, we can speak of what is called the ethical ideal for man. So, Plato comes to that point.
So, by using these metaphysical principles, he is trying to explain the concept of ethics.
Yes, concept of ethics in the sense the concept of soul also.
Okay.
Now, he says that a life of reason or a life of virtue is the highest good for man to attain. You lead a life of courage, you lead a life of reason, you lead a life of appetite, the so called virtues. So, a life of reason, of all these three, life of reason is the highest good. So, that is the primary importance assigned to the virtue of rationality, virtue of reason. Pleasure, although it is not an end in itself, accompanies the gratification of desire, and the more reasonable the desire, the more pleasurable its gratification. So, Plato says that matter is imperfection, a dead weight on the soul, that we have already mentioned. Body is the prison house. Okay. Matter or body is always imperfect, always temporary, always a passing reality. It belongs to the world of appearance. Therefore, it is a dead weight on the soul. It is a weight hanging over the soul, of which the soul has to remove. Soul has to free itself from that weight. To be free from this clog and to lose oneself in contemplation of beautiful ideas or to see God is the consummation devotedly to be wished by a human being. So, this weight which is hanging on the shoulders of a human being, the body, the weight of the body, the soul has to remove it, so that it can enjoy the company of the beautiful objects of the world of ideas. Actually, soul is a member of the world of ideas. So, in this world of appearance, it is in association with body. Once when it is in association with body, it has been imprisoned by the body, because the body exerts power over the soul, and soul is, it is very silent. We have already seen reason is silent, it is the weakest principle like that. So, since it does not exert itself, body exerts power over that and gets its imprisoned and hangs over the shoulders of soul just like a weight, mass of weight. So, the duty of the soul is to remove or break this imprisonment, and once when it breaks this imprisonment, it gets liberated and it enters the world of ideas, as a member of it. It regains its original position. Okay. So, that is the Platonic philosophy. That is why it is said that Platonic philosophy culminates in kind of mysticism. Now, we can compare this idea to that of Indian concept of liberation and so on. So many studies have come on that. Okay. So, to see God is a consummation of a human being that he can wish for. To see God in the sense to enter into the world of reality, to the ceasing his status in the world of appearance, he has to enter as a member of like a kingdom of God. Immanuel Kant will say like that. So, according to Plato, it is a world of ideas. The soul belongs to it, but it is lost in the world. It has to regain its original status and go back to the world of ideas. So, that is the essential conclusion that we can draw from the ethics of Plato in regarding soul.